If I just spit all over you.
I looked funny that way. It's like...
Like that.
We're having Stella watch all the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, so if you haven't seen the other ones, it's click somewhere up there, I guess, to watch some of those. And so, like the Marvel... No, I can't do this. I'm doing so bad. So like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where you have to watch all the movies, I would recommend you also watch all of our videos to really get the full scope of the whole thing. We've had big updates since the last video because since the last time we filmed, I actually got a haircut. So that's been great. So many different things going on. Yeah. Oh, you want to put your hand through my hair? Yeah. So...
It's crooked.
Right. We did that too. We got engaged. I did it.
You got a haircut.
I got a haircut specifically to go get engaged. Because I was told if I was ever doing it, I better have a nice haircut.
No, if you were doing it during quarantine when you hadn't cut your hair in 10 months. Mm-hmm. Preferably. Not that I knew.
Anyways, let's continue with the video then. The video at hand. You're too excited about this. Now, she's going to love Iron Man 2 just because of the ring. That's going to be distracting the whole time. Yeah. Iron Man 2, released in 2010, directed...
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? Is that what you're saying? You're giving it? She did like it.
No, that's... You said I'll love the movie because of my ring. So
oh, okay. There you
10
go.
10 out of 10.
I thought... Okay.
Yep.
Iron Man 2, released in 2010, directed once again by Jon Favreau, and returning a lot of the cast. It'd been 2 years since the last MCU movie, and this was putting things back on track, whereas the first two movies didn't have a lot in common and quality-wise were way different. Iron Man 2 really did start to form where the MCU was going and building up to the first Avengers movie, and it's a sequel that I don't think is loved by everybody, but it's not hated by everyone either. It's people have differing opinions about this one, and over time I think people have technically liked it less and less just because there's been so many other way better MCU movies, and everyone's always liked the first Iron Man more. What are your first thoughts on Iron Man 2?
I liked Iron Man 2 the best so far. I liked it more than the first one.
Do you like it the best so far of all the movies we watched?
So far of the videos we did, or so far? Because we are way past.
Of the ones we've watched.
No, of the videos we made, yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you would like it more than the first movie, just because from what I always remember about Iron Man 2 is that it was a much messier movie. A lot more characters, a lot more kind of going on, and to me it doesn't seem like it's like focused. But I've always liked the movie still, especially better than other people.
I just think first movies, because they have to explain everything, I don't like them. Mm-hmm. I just like when I know stuff, and then...
Like origin stories?
I like when I know stuff, yeah.
A lot of people don't like origin stories, so I guess that's probably part of it. I don't mind them, but...
I also did not like the villains.
Of the first movie?
Yeah.
Did you like the villain in this one? Oh yeah, so...
I did. I forget who it is. I just remember there are many of them, but I don't remember who the guy behind it was.
Well, there was Sam Rockwell playing Justin Hammer, who was kind of the mastermind in a way of the main villain of the movie, who was...
He was a creep. I didn't like him, though.
Yeah, his name is Whiplash, played by Mickey Rourke. To me, kind of the biggest disappointment in the movie, I remember hearing he was going to be in it, and he was cast because he started having a bit of a resurgence due to The Wrestler coming out, and he won, like, Best Actor for that movie. So, it was, like, a big deal that he was in Iron Man 2. It was like, wow, they got, like, a Oscar heavyweight for this movie to play the villain, and it's going to be crazy good, and it's not. It's pretty lame.
I've not cared about any of the villains. To be fair.
Well, that's going to be a continued problem, I'm sure. Because...
You shouldn't like a villain? but
they have to be enjoyable.
I mean, I literally forgot.
It's part of the comic book, movie, in the world of comic books. Stop showing off your ring. But you like Justin Hammer, though.
No.
You didn't like him either?
No.
So you didn't like any of the villains? So you have the same problem with this movie as the first one. What did you think of Robert Downey Jr. this time around? Because he gets a little crazy throughout
like him more.
You like him more?
Mm-hmm.
Do you find him funnier?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. He's funnier in this one. They give him a lot more comedic bits, and he starts becoming his more eccentric self than...
Yeah, in the first one, you were like, oh, you're not going to like him. He's like this. He's like this. He didn't really have very much of a personality. Well, he did. But not...
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
Not like how he is in other ones. Like,
yeah.
He didn't seem the same. Like, he did say stuff every once in a while, but, like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I guess. He was more bubbly in the later movies. Like, he started really coming into his own, I guess. Because the first movie, he is a lot more laid back and not trying to constantly be funny or have some sort of jab at someone. It's still really quick wit at times, but the other movies make him funnier and in a way more memorable. I can kind of see that, especially since the first movie is now part of a huge series, so there's so many other movies to compare it to, and it definitely...
I think the first one was trying to show, like, how smart he is and how he can build stuff, which is fine because it's important, but then once you already know that, then they could focus on, oh, he's funny and sarcastic too.
Did you think Gwyneth Paltrow was better in this one? Because you said she was barely in the last one. You were kind of disappointed.
Barely in all of them.
I did, yeah. I said that in the last video. I was like, she's doesn't really show up in any of them, but this probably is the most that she's in any of the movies. She's probably in this one the most.
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion either way.
Because you still just don't get enough of her.
I don't know. Not really.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like,
why? What do you think about her?
No, I mean, I always liked Gwyneth Paltrow, but I always felt like she didn't really have enough in these movies, and then this one is pretty much the same thing. Mm-hmm. And even though this one she's in it more, and I think she has a way better back and forth with Robert Downey Jr. in this one, it still isn't enough to me. Like, I always kind of wish there would have been a little more of her. I don't know how you do that exactly, other than just write her in more scenes. I don't know. Yeah. What did you think of Don Cheadle being in this movie instead of Terrence Howard, replacing him, and being James Rhodes?
I kind of like the other guy more.
You don't like this one as much?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I was not used to him. I don't know. I kind of like the other guy more.
I felt like that originally, honestly. I felt the same way. After when the first two movies came out.
I feel like I'm going to get attacked for that.
No, the thing is, you're only at the second movie, and this is the first movie he's in, so you only have one other thing to compare it to. I personally think, because he's in the third movie, but you probably don't get enough of him in that, but once you see him in, like, Civil War and Infinity War and then Endgame, he shows up a lot more, and he's way more of a funny sidekick. In this one he's not as much. In this one he's still a little his straightforward military self, kind of like what he was in the first movie. And at the time I thought the same thing. I was like, I kind of like Terrence Howard a little more. But as time has gone on and they actually started giving like Don Cheadle more things to say and funny things to say, he started becoming more of like what you'd expect from like an 80s sidekick, and he's way better. He ended up being like one of the funnier like characters in Endgame, especially. Like the whole movie he's just funny. But I can see liking Terrence Howard a little more.
So I was with Harry Potter, like the first Dumbledore, and it took me a long time to adjust, and now I'm like, oh, I like this one more.
That's a good comparison, because it's kind of the same argument. Like, because that Dumbledore I thought only got better as the other movies came, because they actually gave him more character, or changed it up anyway. I'm trying to think. The story of this movie, where there's the Stark Expo, And there's a lot more with his father involved and the introduction of Black Widow, which actually, yeah, what'd you think of Black Widow? Scarlett Johansson's first MCU movie.
I liked her, but I didn't like I don't know what they're trying to do, but I didn't like them being flirty towards each other. It bothered me.
So, but you liked Black Widow, though? Like, her introduction and fighting style and...
She's badass.
Well, there you go. That's what I thought
Can
you
I
would
say
say.
that on your channel?
Yeah. I'll allow it.
I tell you not to swear, and then I'm like, she's badass.
You told me not to swear during our Disney podcast, so I'm wondering if
True.
that's the difference.
Well, because...
We're edgier over at the
Disney.
Marvel side of it. Even though it's owned by Disney.
Well,
This was the first movie that was released while Disney owned Marvel. But the story with the Stark Expo and then Howard Stark being involved, who we would see later. I don't know. Were you into any of that, though? Like the story of it all? If you can remember.
you don't get very much, though, do you?
Of his father? Or of the story?
Of his dad.
No.
You get more in...
In Captain America.
Yeah.
No, he... Not really just...
I felt confused. I don't know.
Not him specifically. I just mean like the story involving him and his connection with his dad, because they tried to make that come into play.
I was confused why he was such a very distant dad, and then he was like, made that video for him. And I was like, I don't know.
It still didn't work for you?
No, I was confused. I still don't get it.
I think it's rushed.
Yeah.
It's definitely rushed, and
It's rushed, yet I still don't really get anything out of it.
it's not... Well, I mean, that's the thing, because it is rushed. That's why you don't get anything out of it. I honestly didn't like that stuff too much until the later movies, which isn't fair, but they go into his relationship with the father in the later movies. Civil War and Endgame especially. But it makes me appreciate the scene more now, but at the time...
I'm not a fan of his dad.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think you're supposed to like him. Even with that video, I don't think it really helps. I don't know if there's really anything else with this one, other than some of your opinions just on, like, the action of it all.
And I don't like his dad.
Well, I don't know, because I always thought that the story... I don't know, it just gets really weird, and we're thrown all over the place at times, because then S.H.I.E.L.D. getting involved, and they're like, you really have to focus on this project to fix your heart, which they just know about, and that becomes a big issue, because he is getting poisoned by the very thing that's trying to save him. And then he's trying to fix it, and it's causing him to go, like, all wacky, because he thinks he's dying. And then he's got to, like, invent a new element that his dad discovered all these years earlier, but he was the only one who could make it, because his dad knew he'd had the technology. But I guess I don't know how you really synthesize an element. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you create a new element.
Stark.
Well, that's the thing. All he does really is he tears a hole in the wall, grabs a bunch of, like, pipes and this giant, like, generator type thing, and then he's able to create it.
Done it too.
I don't know. I just don't really believe it.
Einstein did that.
Did he do that exactly? Tear a hole in the wall?
Yeah.
Well, because he's making the atom by just taking his dad's model of the original Stark Expo, and he's like, look, I created this atom. I'm like, well, all he did was tie a bunch of bonds together, and I'm not a scientist, but I'm saying I think it's a little more difficult than just being like, here are all the bonds. It's like...
You should try it.
Well, isn't, like, on the map of elements that there are, the periodic table...
The map.
The periodic table, every single atom or element that's created has one extra proton. So it starts out with 1, and then number 1 has 1 proton, and then you keep going, and then it's 2 protons, then 3 protons. Elements that were created by humans, not ones that come naturally. Mm-hmm. They started adding more protons together, and then you got to synthesize it with, and that's where the difficult part comes in, because you got to, like, balance it, and you have to discover it and make it. Well, I'm just explaining that basically he maps it out. Basically, he maps it out, and he's showing that, like, look at all these atoms are going to go together then, or I guess protons and neutrons and electrons. It's all going to go together, and then bam, I have it. And I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. Like, it takes a little more.
I mean, he seemed to do it, so.
Yeah, but they're trying to tell us that the dad discovered it, and then they mapped it out, and then hid it until his son could find it.
Why didn't he just do it?
Well, I'm not even saying that, like, Howard Stark could have done it, but I just don't understand how he was able to have it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. That's always been a part of the movie where I'm like, I feel like they're really cheating the science here, but I guess that's coming from a series where there's monsters and magical beings and people from space and a guy in a metal suit.
Yep.
Anyways, I give Iron Man 2
2 out of 10?
No. I give it 6 out of 10.
Maybe 7.
There you go.
7.5.
Why is it if I go 6, that's low, but 7 is normal, and that's one you really like?
Because it's a whole point higher.
That was our video on Iron Man 2, and next we're going to talk about Eclipse, also released in 2010, the third Twilight movie.
Yeah.
This is my reaction to that. See ya. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Anthony, Anna, Lukas, NolanCho, Ryan, and Robert for the support on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive videos and blogs, and for only $7, you can request your own movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.